Pawn dealing is a tricky business, and if not done right, it could end up in a drastic fail. This pawn shop has a specialized pawn star that scrutinizes each one of the offers placed and takes only what makes money. According to Rick Harrison, it's all about making money. Let's further watch 5 angry and disappointed sellers whose offers were declined due to various circumstances. Let's dive into Pawn Stars, Deals Gone Wrong. Welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to witness some of the deals that happen behind closed doors. 1958 Glastron Boat. On one fine day, the owner of a uniquely constructed 1958 Seafly Glastron that was modeled to look like a 57 Chevy that resembles a convertible came up to Rick. Rick was tempted to buy the boat as he had a project in mind, and the boat's custom features would really highlight it. The owner tried to persuade him by praising its originality and rarity. 𝐂𝐒 said this boat was made in 1968 by a fledgling company named Glastron. There's probably only like 150 of these boats left. The main aim of the makers of the boat was to design it like the car 57 Chevy, as at the time of 1958. People went crazy with the model of the car, thus increasing the boat's value and appeal. The owner further added that the boat had about 80 horsepower. It's family-friendly and had original chrome in it. It was overall a 17-foot boat, made out of fiberglass, as wooden boats are out of style and fiberglass is coming in. But even though the owner said that it was affordable, the price was just too much for Rick. His final offer was $10,500, which was unbelievable for Rick, and he started to slander the boat. He began to say things like it did not have an original motor and had a rather poor paint job, and that instead of profiting him in this purchase, he would have to spend even more money on it. He also said that he'd like to invest in a money-making business deal and that this was not going to help him in any sort of way. These comments were harsh, and the owner was extremely offended. The owner criticized Rick, saying that he was insulting him with the petty comments and that the boat was in a great condition. The Hudson Boy Gorget. A customer came into the pawn store hoping to make a sale of his Hudson Boy Gorget. Hudson Boy is one of the oldest companies in the world, and the boy wanted to make at least $100,000 out of the sale. But little did he know he was in for a big disappointment. He began his knowledge on the Gorget by stating that it was made by the Hudson base, most probably around the 1700s. He had little knowledge about the piece, as it was his dad that purchased it from an auction. After listening to what he had to say about the Gorget, Rick began to state his information on the piece. He claimed that even the Romans had them, and they adorned it to protect themselves against knife stabs or sword thrusts directed towards the neck, and the gorgets were the European symbol of authority. Seems like he knows more about the object than the owner himself. Rick later added that Hudson Bay was one of the oldest companies in North America, and that they were a trade company that traded with India, as Indians were much more fond of valuable objects than money. He then grew fond of the item and asked for the selling price of it, but to his shock, the owner said that he would sell it for no less than $100,000, and Rick was in disbelief. He then said that the item was not worth so much cash, and that the maximum he could give the boy was $1,000. He then pointed out as to why it's worth much less. In this clip right here, you can see a symbol engraved in the middle of the cross. Turns out the material is not gray patina, instead it's nickel silver. The owner disagreed on the final offer, took his item, and left the shop in anger. And that's yet another failed sale. Rotating barrel rifles. Another customer came up with a hunting rifle which has a 2-shot 45 caliber percussion cap. These are rifles with 2 barrels made as early as 1600. R15 is America's most popular rifle, with millions sold since 1963. Apparently, the owner picked it up from a trader but was unable to use it as he wasn't strong enough. He then shows off the amazing qualities of the rifle. In this clip, the owners display how the barrels rotate so we can load 2 shots at once, hence shooting twice at a time. According to the owner, he assumes the shots were developed around the 1870s. But then Rick denied the assumption as he announced that the percussion cap was first patented in 1807. It was first used by the U.S. military in 1833. He'd assumed it would be around 1850 or somewhere around there. And since it took so long to just load a gun, they made pistols with 4 barrels around the 1830s. But problems arose when all 4 of the barrels would go off all at once and immediately kill the person they were aiming at. Rick was not pleased with the rifle, as he pointed out its flaws right away. He noted that the stocks were replaced in the Tiger straight maple, but with a completely different wood on the butt. And it wasn't all vintage, as it still got some modern work done on it, as we can see. The screw shown here is a modern screw. The owner defends the vintage quality of the rifle by stating that the woodwork is done right here. This was made by William Hart, who was supposedly a gunmaker in the 1800s. The owner later puts a final price on the rifle at a solid $2,000 for each of them. Rick later brings an expert to evaluate the guns and its value, since he was not that well informed on these items. The evaluator comes and says that the condition of the gun is what he would call poor plus. The gun is heavy, but if you have a well-aimed shot, you'll hit your target. He denied the owner's claims of the Hart inlays being made by William Hart, as he says that he made them circa 1823 to 1831. He finally estimates the price up to a good $1,000. Then they finally settle the cost to $1,400. Elvis Presley signed contract. Elvis Aaron Presley lived 1935 to 1977, sold over 1 billion records worldwide, more than anyone in history. Joyce, the owner of the said contract, wishes to sell it for about $8,000 to $10,000. Rick was extremely invested in figuring out how Joyce got the contract in the first place. She then replies by saying that she had a friend in the music industry who gave it to her thinking it's worth something. She checked it in case it was a false contract, but it was in fact real. Elvis was pretty popular around the time of 1955. Rick then examined the contract for Elvis Presley to play at the City Auditorium, Beaumont, Texas, on June 20th and 21st of 1955. While examining the contract, they noticed that he was about 20 at the time and received $225 a night. But the shocking fact was that he received this much money, and this wasn't even at the peak of fame at that time. This item would be profitable for an Elvis collector. Rick was very excited as this piece was sure to bring him a lot of money. An examiner arrived and looked into the details of the contract to see if everything that they just discovered was real or not. The details all pointed to it being real, but when it finally came down to it being a Xerox copy, that's when things went downhill. Since it's fake, no one's going to be interested in the item, and it's of no value. Medieval poleaxes. An owner of 2 medieval poleaxes enters the shop claiming to be buying them from a town called Dinkelbuhl in Germany. He claims that these were over 500 years old and were used as a pretty versatile weapon long back. He stands firm on his offer to sell each one of these for $7,500 each. Rick asks one of his medieval weapons specialists to come over and check if these weapons were real or not. The examiner comes in and states that one of the poleaxes is made in Austria, while the other is from Italy, judging by the details in their designs. They also seem to have been made way back in the 1500s. But he then claims that the weapon is not real, as the head is made from flimsy steel and the wood is not real vintage. And he concludes that this is most probably from the Victorian period and is used as decorative pieces. Rick then offers a price for just $600 to $700 and says he would not pay more than that, which results in an angry customer leaving the store in utter disbelief. Comment down below your favorite purchase or item from a pawn shop. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more such videos.